Pam Rathbone. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I've been an RN for probably 34 years and a nurse practitioner for the majority of that. And January of 18, because of a kidney issue, I got up in the middle of the night and passed out and hit my head 3 times. And then my daughter heard me from across the house and came and found me, and I was on the floor apparently, and she sat me up and I coded, and fortunately she's a park ranger and she did CPR, and the next thing I know, I'm lying on the floor and she's screaming at me to breathe. And so I'm wondering why she's screaming at me and why I'm on the floor. And anyway, I ended up in the hospital for a few days, and my kids kept telling them that I wasn't my normal self because I wasn't dictating my own health care, because my normal state of being is to manage my health care. Anyway, they sent me home after a couple of days, and I fell 3 more times, and so a total of 6 times of hitting my head. And so being in healthcare for as long as I have patients that got me into some therapy early on. I started seeing people, went to someone at OHSU. I've gone to Providence. I've gone to Danielle Erb's clinic. I've gone to vision therapy. I have gone to everyone that I've been referred to. I have self-referred, and I made fairly good progress, but having a full practice of patients that have depended on me, I was only able to see a couple of patients a week, and I didn't see anybody for the first 3 to 4 months after I fell. And I slowly started back to seeing patients, and at 9 months I was still only seeing like 3 patients a day. I did find a herbal gel that has been a tremendous help for me that I started, and I was able to start seeing about 5 patients a day, but I still was not me. And I was at my vision therapist and overheard someone talking about a conference. The Oregon Brain Alliance was going to put on a conference, and so I thought, I'm going to go to that. I can get some continuing ed and also learn. And so I went to that conference, and Dr. Zielinski was speaking, and I was blown away by his education and the talk that he gave. And so after he spoke, I went to the table that he was sitting at, and he started talking to me, and he said, well, you know, you still have, and I can't remember what he said I had, but he was looking at my eyes, and he described the way that my pupils were, and I looked at him and said, okay, I really don't understand what you're saying. And he said, come to the next talk. And so I did. And after that talk, I scheduled an appointment with Northwest Functional Neurology the next Monday. And that was the beginning of my recovery. And the work that this team does has changed my life. I went through occupational therapy. I went through physical therapy. I was still going through a year of vision therapy. I did speech therapy. I did vestibular therapy. I've done every therapy in the world, and I still had headaches. I still wasn't sleeping. I still had double vision. I still, after I would get tired, and I would go from 0 to 30 or 30 to 0 within, as far as energy is concerned, within 15 minutes. And so the fatigue factor was significant. So balance, and when I would get tired, I would still, balance. I could stagger. So the post-concussion syndrome would still be, I still had a lot of symptoms from that, even after all of that therapy. And so coming here with all of the symptoms from all of the concussion, and now I am sleeping all night long, which is something I've never done even since childhood. I'm not staggering. My stamina is significantly more. My husband is telling me that I am happy, and for the first time ever, I don't have to log in to the office this weekend to do any charting, because I was able to finish all of my charting on patient charts. I was able to do all of my labs. I was able to do all of my documents. I was able to finish everything that's related to patient charts every night, every single night, and leave the office Thursday night without anything left to do. Because when you come here, you get tested. And after the first battery of testing and sitting and reviewing all of the testing about the frontal lobe and the midbrain and the brainstem, I was blown away with how they can evaluate everything that's going on in your brain. And it wasn't just the concussion that has been affecting my brain. It was the 17 surgeries in 5 years. It was the trauma from my son's death. It was from all of the other trauma that I had experienced in all of my lifetime. So if you're out there and you've suffered from PTSD, as a practitioner, I've known for years that PTSD will affect your neurotransmitters, but I had no idea the physiological and neurological aspects that it has on your brain. I would treat patients for adrenal dysfunction and not realize the neurological impact that the PTSD or the brain injury would have on the adrenals. And for a few minutes I felt really awful that I hadn't been treating my patients correctly, but Zielinski calmed that fear that, we do the best that we can as providers. But if you're out there and you're suffering from traumatic brain injury, if you're suffering from vertigo, if you're suffering from PTSD, if you're suffering from ADHD, if you're suffering from any of the disorders that they have listed on their website, please don't feel like you have to live that way, because the treatments that they are doing here are so impactful in your life. And Zielinski does a lot of the evals, but the team that they have here, Jeff McNally is a chiropractor that does functional neurology. Jeff was the chiropractor that worked with me all week long for my intensive. And because of the 17 surgeries that I had in the 5 years, I am extremely critical of providers. And I would not be sitting here telling you that this place is one of the most awesome set of providers that I have found if I wasn't convinced in my heart that this is one of the best places I have ever found. Because I have been to some of the places that I would never send anybody to. Jeff has made me feel like it's okay to be tearful and not be condescending in the way he has treated me. He's made me feel like it's okay to ask questions. He's made me feel that the questions that I've asked, that I'm not stupid in asking, and that's really hard to do. He is an awesome practitioner, and I feel blessed to have been here. I am so much better, and I'm just a week past my intensive. So if you have issues, please don't feel like you have to continue to live with them. Come to this place and be treated. So one of the other things that is being offered here is TMS, transcranial stimulation. And this is a procedure that is cutting edge for mental health and PTSD and depression. How it actually works, I don't know. All I know is that my recovery has been absolutely phenomenal. Shauna Hahn is a psych mental health nurse practitioner, and Shauna is running the TMS arm of this clinic. And Shauna is an experienced psych NP, and she has a way of talking to you. I mean, I felt like when I was having the TMS, I felt like I was babbling. And she was the most caring and respectful and awesome woman to talk to, while the woodpecker, that's what TMS feels like. It feels like a woodpecker on the side of your head. It's not painful, but it does feel like a woodpecker is tapping on the side of your head. And Shauna was in there while the magnetic stimulation is being done. And it was interesting for me during the experience that I started talking about the different traumas in my life. And it was a therapy session because we were doing the TMS twice a day, every day, during my intensive. And she would listen, but she listened with an open heart, and she listened as a practitioner the same time. And that was also one of the most therapeutic things that I've ever experienced. And she brings with her many, many years of working with patients with vast psychiatric disorders. And she is a tremendous asset to this awesome team of providers. I can't say enough good things about this experience. I have just wanted my life back, and I had almost given up. And I self-referred. I asked my primary care, who is my business partner, to generate a referral to come here. And I am ever so indebted to this team for giving me my life back. And I didn't think it would ever happen, but I do. I have my life back, and I have a life back that is pre my son's death. Not just pre-concussion, but pre my son's death. And that is more than anybody else has ever been able to give me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.